Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I'm Tom, and today I want to talk about Bumblebee, the 2018 Transformers film. It was released, I think, December 2018. Didn't do maybe as well as they were expecting. Wasn't a film I was looking forward to following the 5 Michael Bay Transformer films that kind of went from nonsensical action to just ridiculous epileptic fit provoking garbage with the last one, really. I was expecting this to be more of the same, but it's not. I really enjoyed this film. I did go in with very low expectations. First 5 minutes, it had already changed those for me, and I thought this was going to be quite fun. But there will be spoilers in this. Very brief ones. I'm not going to go into big details, especially towards the end of the film. I'm just going to touch on the opening, and then just a general sort of layout of what the film is from that point. So we open up with the war for Cybertron raging on as the Decepticons are just mauling Autobots, closing in on their final defensive position. The Transformers look great. They look so much closer to the sort of 80s designs of what the cartoon was that I grew up with. They're very sleek. They each have their own bit of personality instead of just being flashiness that we've been presented with previously. This film is set in 1987, so it's leaning into that vibe, which is really good. The whole action sequence and the opening, it looks brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. Flows really well. The planet of Cybertron looks amazing. So I was already surprised by the intro. Basically, the Autobots getting so devastated, Optimus Prime calls a retreat, and they all leave the planet in escape pods, scatter out through the system, or the systems, and the plan is really for Optimus to find each individual ally and Autobot that's out there, and some are already out there in the galaxy, some are leaving with them. And they're going to reunite and come to Earth and try and stage a counterattack and take back Cybertron from there. Bumblebee is sent to Earth to protect Earth from the Decepticons and is obviously followed. He's pretty much, as soon as he lands, he's ambushed. Has his voice synthesizer ripped out, which leads us to the radio talk. And due to the extent of his damage, his memory is wiped and he shuts down. We then cut to Hailee Steinfeld's Charlie, an 18-year-old who's trying to repair her dad's Corvette, having recently lost her dad. You don't really find out how or why until later on, to build up that family drama. But she's having a tough time. She's not really adjusted to life without her father. She does have a mum and a brother and a mum's new partner, husband. I wasn't really sure. But she's not really fitting in. She wants her own car and to find her own freedom. And she finds the clapped out VW Beetle, which is Bumblebee from the 80s. And that's the start of the film. It flows really well. I'm going through it quick. And that's sort of where I'm going to stop giving away story beats, because it kind of goes how you expect. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. But the film really sort of centres on the relationship and the bond that Charlie and Bumblebee strike up. Charlie really starts to grow into herself and comes out of a shell and opens herself up and gets past the trauma that she's suffered with the loss of her father. And Bumblebee grows into the heroic Autobot that we come to know and love, even in the Michael Bay films. But the action in this film is great. It's not all action. There's a lot of story and there's a lot of emotion in this. But the action is fantastic. Obviously it's green screen. Majority of it's green screen. But it looks and it flows really well. The design of all the Transformers is great. It feels like they're back to their roots. They look like Transformers. And Optimus Prime even looks like Optimus Prime. The one I remember from my childhood, which is key. And it's just really nice to see. I was never a big Transformers fan, but there's something so cool about Transformers. And it's nice to see them back at that stage. John Cena's also in this. He plays generic 80s action hero army commander guy. It looks like he's having a lot of fun with the role, and he does what you need him to do, and he does it very well. I quite enjoyed him in this. And George Lenderberg Jr. plays generic love interest, male comic relief teen. But again, he does it really well. He's quite a likable character. And he's on the path with Charlie to find out what Bumblebee is. And yeah, he does his part very well. It doesn't feel like any of these two characters are just thrown in there just because they're who they are, or they just needed a type to fill a role. They do have beats along the way that give them their own moments. Both actors seem to have a lot of fun with their roles as well, which helps. The real star of this is Hailee Steinfeld. She's absolutely incredible. Obviously working with green screen for quite a lot of it, and a lot of the scenes with Bumblebee, I would guess. But she was just fantastic. She really brought a level of emotion to the role, and you really bought what she was feeling. And in sort of connection with that, and in the feeling of that, the animation of Bumblebee, especially in his face and how he moves, fantastic. You really feel the emotion that he's having, and he can't speak for most of the film, but he conveys so much through the movements of his face, which was really good. It was surprising to see the level of emotion that a CGI character can generate. We've come a long way from Jar Jar, which is good. We should have done, because wow. But yeah, it's a really good film. I didn't think I'd like it, and I'm blown away by how good it is, to be honest. Being set in the 80s, it has a very 80s soundtrack with bands like The Smiths, a-ha, Rick Astley, Duran Duran, Bon Jovi, Steve Winwood's in there, Simple Minds. There's so many of them. And because how he talks through the radio as well at points, you get different elements through that, and it's just done really well. It all just works and it flows seamlessly. The story itself, it's kind of what you would expect from a film of this type. We've seen it before. It doesn't try and reinvent the wheel. It goes with, to really dumb it down, it's like a one man and his dog kind of story. But it works. It works so well, and Travis Knight, who directed it, and Christina Hodson, who wrote this, they clearly understood what they wanted to go for with the emotional beats. They clearly understood the Transformers franchise, and they gave it a real heartfelt and fun action film. Obviously, there's been a lot of other people in this to make this work, but this is the best Transformers film out there, I think, and I'd be very happy to see more in the future. Just the aesthetic, the feel, it all worked for me. This isn't a Michael Bay action flick that's all flash and no substance. This is much more subtle, much more heartwarming. It actually tells a story, and it tells it well. And it doesn't leave you second guessing and trying to work out what's going on at any point in the film. The action is very satisfying, and it all looks really well. And it's just really good. I watched it on Netflix here in the UK. It's just come out. But I would recommend this. If you were turned off by the Michael Bay Transformers films, but you are interested in Transformers, or you have a love of the franchise, this is definitely a film for you. And as I say, I'd love to see more. I don't know if they will. I don't think it did as well at the box office as they were hoping. But this was excellent. It really took me by surprise, and it was a really good fun film to watch. But that's it for this one. Just a quick recap on Bumblebee the film. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.